Welcome to Nice Ashes. I'm Mike.
And I'm Nate. What are we smoking tonight, Mike? I think this is one of your personal favorites.
So this is a bin cigar, and it's called the Odyssey Maduro. And I've smoked this before.
What do these run, Mike?
For a 25-pack, you can reliably get them for a little over $30. So this one is under $2 and a little over $1 a stick, basically.
Okay, I had something terrible just happen to mine.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Well, hold on. I'm going to try and get a picture here, and I'll put it on our Instagram. But and I'll send it to you too, because so I cut it as one does, right?
Right, it's a good idea.
And sure makes the smoking part a lot easier. And it kind of split down the side.
Uh-oh. Do you have any cigar glue?
Yeah, Mike. Just right here next to my socket set.
That cigar glue is a real product, Nate, by the way.
No,
it's a real product.
I do not have any cigar glue. I don't have any blinker fluid. And
so I don't have any cigar glue either. I just throw them away.
Yeah. Do you think this one's worth smoking, or I've got more of these in the humidor? Should I grab a different one?
You can try to smoke it if you want. If you have another, you might as well just toss it. And
all right, I grabbed a new one, Mike, and I'm going to be a little more gentle this time.
Now, Nate, did your second cutting not destroy the cigar?
Well, I'm about to do it. My second cutting did not destroy the cigar, so we're good there.
Perfect.
Even better, Mike, is there's no vastly vile taste on the wrapper. All of the Rocky Patel, Connecticut. Okay, I'm lit, just like this party. Speaking of party, I'm drinking a Surly Axeman IPA.
Nice. I am drinking blueberry juice. And water.
Perfect.
I know, right?
Is the blueberry juice something you made yourself, Mike?
No. Came from IKEA.
Oh, okay.
I know, right?
They've got that lingonberry juice, which is quite nice, too.
Oh, yeah. They have that and then elderflower. I like that stuff, too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, yeah.
Initial thoughts so far on the cigar, it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. The
fine.
start isn't bad. It's not super great, but it's not offensive either. So,
Yep.
little bland. That's okay.
Well, it's a little bland. It's, I don't know how to describe it. It's bland, but there's kind of like almost like a LaCroix flavor effect going on, where there's kind of like a hint of a flavor.
Right.
I'm not sure if the hint of the flavor is overall a positive thing, or, it's tough to say after a couple puffs on almost any cigar. So
I think that might be a theme, but we'll find out. Maybe expectations will be surpassed.
no spoilers, Mike. You've had these before.
So, given recent events, we have a topic, and it's, I know, right? It's going to be attempted and successful U.S. presidential assassinations.
Okay, so we're hitting another our third somewhat political episode in a row.
We are, and this is not going to be a regular thing, gentlemen. Do not worry.
But it is election season here in America, so only time will tell if we're back talking about more circus stuff.
There is only one way that's going to happen, and something crazy would have to happen, right? So if nothing crazy happens, I'm pretty much done. There's not a whole lot else to say, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, all right. And I was surprised by this list a little bit because I haven't heard all of them. So,
yeah, I've heard of a couple. Obviously, the two big ones,
right?
Which I'm sure you're going to get into. But there's kind of the two big ones when you think assassination. It's Lincoln and Kennedy. I'm aware of a couple more, but at least attempts. So, but I don't want to steal any thunder from Mike.
No. Steal away. There's no thunder to steal.
That's not my business, Mike. So anyway, this is a Mike knows.
Yes.
And Nate will sit here and add sarcastic comments throughout.
Yes. Now, I was shocked because the first assassination attempt of note in America was against Andrew Jackson.
Okay.
Which I would have thought, given the history of the country, that there would have been a few before then, but apparently not. So,
well, Mike, weren't there, there's the whole Andrew Burr, Alexander Hamilton duel.
Mm-hmm.
But a duel wouldn't be considered assassination attempt,
No.
To my knowledge. I don't know if any of the early presidents did any duels.
I'm sure they did. Andrew Jackson was a duelist.
Okay.
So, I'm sure. But Andrew Jackson was president way after the Revolutionary War period.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's a famous incident. You've probably heard of this and forgot about it. In 1835, a man named Richard Lawrence attempted to shoot Andrew Jackson in the Capitol after leaving a funeral, and both of his pistols misfired. Okay. After his 2 pistols misfired, Andrew Jackson brutally beat him with his cane, and he had to be brought to the hospital to recover before his trial.
Classic.
Yeah, Andrew Jackson was kind of a badass. He also shot a man while president for insulting his wife. And, you know.
I think of you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think of the kind of early presidents / founding fathers, Andrew Jackson is societally the least favorite. Wasn't he fairly racist against Native Americans and things?
Yeah, he was the one who ordered the Trail of Tears.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, war hero, right? So, mixed bag. He was very much a man of his time. Didn't translate well to modern times.
Yes.
But, and then both pistols were also proven to be operable later. So it was pure luck that he survived. Not that that matters.
Yes.
So,
well, it matters in the trial, I suppose, like if he came in with obviously non-working pistols.
Right. So Abraham Lincoln's the next one, which is in the 1860s. So 30 years without an assassination attempt is pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't know this, but there were 2 assassination attempts before the successful one.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So in 61, Alan Pinkerton, head of the Pinkerton Detective Service, uncovered a plot to assassinate Lincoln in Baltimore before the inauguration. And they moved the schedule, and his inauguration changed. Okay. Which I didn't know. I do know the Pinkertons. I didn't know that's kind of... They must have started there, I guess. They were pretty famous back in the day.
Yeah, they were very famous. So famous so that at my grandfather's cabin, he went and got one of those tin, metal / tin signs to put in the lagoon where he parked the boat, and it said "Protected by the Pinkertons," which for somebody his age, World War II vet is fun. For anybody younger than that, you're kind of like, it must be a real thing, I guess. It must be a real security service. It's one of those kind of more slightly obscure joke / fun little signs.
Right.
Like the Elvis Presley license or whatever is, even for people our age, is still pretty, clearly that's a joke, and it's, nowadays it's not nowadays, but 20 years ago it was the McLovin license from Hawaii, the what do they call them? Novelty license.
Yes. Something that everybody would clearly know is a fake.
Yes.
Yeah. So, interesting. I guess I've never seen the Elvis license. I've seen the McLovin license.
Yeah. My wife's dad told me a story. He had he was buying beer and they wanted to see his ID, and he happened to have a Elvis novelty license and some other novelty license, and he accidentally grabbed those and put them down, and the cashier looked at the date and kept scanning, and he's like, "Wait, don't you recognize the person in this picture here?" And then the cashier started laughing and asked to see his real ID. It wasn't a purposeful thing trying to deceive anybody, but
it happens.
Oh yeah.
So in 1864, there was an assassination attempt against Lincoln, and it was an unknown sniper who took a lone rifle shot that shot through his hat, and it was 3 miles from the White House. And there's a whole long story about it. We really don't need to get into it. Yeah. But yeah, apparently nobody was ever found, but he had a hole in his hat.
Okay. And other people presumably heard the shot.
Yeah, other people, heard the shot, and he had people with him, obviously.
It wasn't just like a moth ate through his hat, and he was no, assassination attempt.
Yeah. Apparently, people saw his hat fly off his head, and
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, of all the hats I've seen shot off by a lone sniper rifle in my life, I'm always like, whoa, look at that hat go. I'm just kidding. I've not seen any of that. Put that right next to the cigar glue. Things I have not seen.
Well, cigar glue is real, but
well, so is the sniper shooting at Lincoln, right?
Oh, that's true.
I just said things I have not seen, not things that are fake.
Next one's, of course, 65, John Wilkes Booth in
Yep.
Ford Theater. We all know that. We don't have to go over that. The next one, and I did not know this, which is shocking. I should
Okay.
have known this. The next one is 1881, which is James Garfield.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. James Garfield was shot by Charles J. Gateau at Baltimore and Potomac Railroad Station in Washington, D.C. And he died.
Oh, okay.
I didn't know that James Garfield was assassinated.
Yeah, I guess I didn't either. He's one of those. Isn't there a couple of those presidents in the middle there that kind of not? I don't want to say middle because that's not really chronologically the middle. But after the first 100 years or so, it's kind of like what James Garfield and Zachary Taylor and these other ones that just
Harrison.
yeah.
Pierce. There's quite a few in there. That's like Lincoln, Ulysses S. Grant, and Teddy Roosevelt. Like those are the ones that everybody knows.
Yeah.
And Ulysses S. Grant's only because he's Civil War hero,
Yep.
most corrupt president of all time. Well,
Yep.
potentially, right?
One of, maybe.
One of.
And I can just hear, like, if Gravy's listening, I can hear him laughing because he probably knows all the monarchs back and laughing at, two Americans trying to name what we've only had 40-some presidents, and we can't name them all.
Right.
So,
Like Queen Victoria was the queen for like 100 years.
Yeah.
So.
yeah. So suck on that, England. Come on.
Yeah, it's like all the Georges and then Victoria and then Edward and then another George and then Elizabeth for like the entire half of the 20th century.
If you guess George, Edward, Victoria, or Elizabeth, you probably got most of recorded history covered.
Right. You certainly have anybody who's alive. You have them covered. So they got it easy. Name all the prime ministers.
Yeah, there you go.
So the next one, and I did know this, was William McKinley, and he was shot by a political person. I didn't hear about this one.
Okay.
And now there were several attempts on...
McKinley didn't die, though, did he? Or did he?
Yeah, he died. Yeah, that's how TR became president the first time.
Oh, got it. Sure.
Mm-hmm. So that's why, I knew that one.
Yep.
I did not hear about this. Taft had several. I only wrote down one because the other ones were kind of like, oh, his mom said that somebody said they were going to kill him. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't real.
Yeah, there's a difference between a verbal threat and then actually pointing a gun or two guns at Andrew Jackson.
Right.
Only to proceed to be beat within inches of your life.
I realize that Andrew Jackson is a bad guy, right? In modern context. But he was a badass.
Yeah.
He was a badass for sure. Yeah.
Well, most of the people back then, not most of the people, but I feel like most of the people that had public favor were kind of badasses.
They kind of had to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was a different time.
I didn't hear about this, or I didn't know. Anyway, Taft had multiple attempts, but I only have one because it's the only credible one.
Yeah.
He was going to meet with the president of Mexico, and a guy was arrested feet from him with a concealed pistol and who was attempting to shoot him. So he didn't actually take a shot, but he was taken down by a Texas Ranger like 3 feet from the president or something like that.
Okay.
So he was nearly there. Ready to go. This one's a famous one, and Nate, you know this. In 1912, Theodore Roosevelt was shot during his third election campaign, and it hit him in the eyeglass case, and he, of course, famously finished his speech, and it was incredible. Everybody's heard that story.
Yes.
Great story.
Yes. The only thing better would have been if Teddy Roosevelt charged the shooter with his glasses case and then beat him enough to send him to the hospital, but with a glasses case.
Right. Right. And, well, like the modern feminazis don't like TR now either because he was an imperialist. But,
well, you can like or
you know?
dislike it, but he's the president that started the national parks. So he was a very avid nature lover.
He was the first progressive president in the history of the country. And like it or not, imperialism was a part of progressive politics at that time. It was viewed in a different way than it is now. So, just the way it is, right?
Yeah.
Next attempt, this is the 9th for those who are counting, was against Herbert Hoover in 1928.
All right, the vacuum guy.
Yeah, the vacuum guy. Probably the worst president in the history of the country, Herbert Hoover. He did a goodwill tour of Central and South America, and
they
there was
did
a group
not
of
have
guys,
goodwill back.
They did not have goodwill back. And a group of guys were arrested planting bombs on the train tracks
Okay.
when he was going to in Argentina.
Yeah.
So
Is that where all the Nazis went? Argentina?
yeah, later. Yeah, later.
Later.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I got my timelines crossed. I thought after Doctor Who stopped Rosa Parks from something, then he went and brought the Nazis prematurely to Argentina to get their base of operations going ahead of World War II. But clearly I'm mistaken and confused.
Yes. So these ones, one of them we've already talked about on the show. It's against FDR. He had 3 major attempts.
Okay.
The first one was in 1933 when he was incoming president-elect. And a guy named Giuseppe Zangara opened fire on Roosevelt in Miami. And he hit many bystanders, but he missed FDR entirely. So there we go. And then, of course, again in 1933, after he was elected, there's the Wall Street Push, which we already discussed in a whole episode. And then apparently in 1943, the Nazis had an assassination plan against Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin at the Tehran conference that was foiled by the KGB.
Okay.
So that was kind of a 3-for-1.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to bring everybody together, you might as well try, I suppose, if you're the Nazis.
Right. It makes sense, given the context.
Yeah.
All right. 11. Now,
all right.
I didn't hear about either one of these before. Harry Truman apparently had 2 assassination attempts, which who the hell would want to kill Harry Truman, right? But apparently it happened.
Yep.
This is related to something current. In 1947, during the Jewish insurgency in Palestine, before the State of Israel was formed, a Zionist paramilitary organization, Lehi, sent a letter or a number of letter bombs to Harry Truman and other high-ranking White House staff. So the Zionists, the Jewish people trying to start the State of Israel, tried to kill Harry Truman.
Yes. But not all Jews, just the Zionist Jewish sect from there.
Yeah, the people who were a part of the group Lehi that existed in 1947.
Yes. Mike, when you say letter bombs, I can only imagine, like, nowadays we could put, and don't do this, this is illegal and bad, but nowadays you could put like an M80 or something in, let's say, a padded envelope, or you could take a padded envelope and you could make a pretty powerful device, I imagine. I don't know. Don't look it up. That's not, right. I'm just asking, like in 1946, 47, are we talking like a package bomb, or is it an honest-to-God like letter bomb somehow?
It probably was an honest-to-God letter bomb. I mean, you got to remember that dynamite predates the First World War. So
yeah, I mean, I know dynamite, and it was World War II, post World War II, so there were a lot of munitions and things, but even a grenade won't fit in a standard letter, like envelope. You know what I mean? No,
but you could take the charge out of a grenade and put it in a letter with shrapnel.
I suppose, yeah.
Right. Not that we would condone doing such a thing.
No, but I mean, it would be a fucking heavy letter, wouldn't it? It'd be like, geez, did my Aunt Doris write this on slate? What is going on? My goodness.
Right. There's like the 8x11 letters that get sent, official mail. And back then they didn't have fax or email.
No.
So
well, you can't send a fax bomb, I don't think. You could use up all their toner, but that's about it.
Right. Fax bomb. I like that. That'd be a great name for a band.
Yeah, a punk rock band from, the 70s.
Yep, the fax bombs.
And fax predates the telegram, doesn't it? Not the telegram. The fax has been around since at least, I think, the 1920s or something, and everybody's sitting around like, well, fax is more secure than email. My butt, it's more secure than email. Are you shitting me, dude? It's only more secure than email now because nobody has a fax machine anymore to intercept your whatever you're faxing.
I make a lot of phone calls in a day. A lot. And I'm not calling people I've never fucking talked to before in my entire life. You know how many times I call the wrong number? It's like the guy I called 10 minutes ago instead of the person I'm supposed to call now. Like,
yeah.
Or
you sometimes like
secure?
You transpose like one letter or one number, and you're getting like, who knows?
I've done that too. Yeah. It's supposed to be, instead of 1, 2, 3, it's 3, 2, 1 or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and smartphones have helped a lot because now you can just click on the number on your phone and it's like, hey, it looks like you're trying to make a phone call. Here's your phone app. And good to go. So,
gosh darn, guys. Anyway.
Yes. We
1950.
Got off track.
Harry Truman, again, 12th attempt for those counting. 2 Puerto Rican.
But only third attempt on Truman, right? Not the 12th
second.
attempt.
Second attempt on Truman.
Okay.
2 Puerto Rican nationalists, Oscar Collazo and Griselio Torresel. I don't speak Spanish. I am sorry. Attempted to assassinate Truman. They attacked the White House. Oh, they attacked a house he was residing in while the White House was being renovated. They had a gunfight. Yeah, apparently they had a gunfight with the Secret Service, and one of the Secret Service guys died. So they really tried to kill him. Like, they attacked the place the president was staying and managed to kill a Secret Service agent. You would think that we would have heard about this in history class.
Yeah.
Like, some Puerto Rican nationalists were attacking the U.S. president. And Harry Truman, of any of the U.S. presidents. Like, really? Like, I've heard so many good things about Harry Truman. You know, like, the only president in modern times that when he stopped being president went back to being a college professor and didn't cash in.
Yeah, but Jimmy Carter didn't cash in, did he? He went and built houses with Habitat for Humanity.
He did a little bit of lobbying, right? He did some lobbying. Yeah, he's not squeaky clean, I guess is what.
Well, I'm not saying he's squeaky clean, but compared to everybody else recently.
Right. Like Truman,
a little bit of light legit lobbying. Yeah.
Truman straight legit moved back to the house he owned before he was vice president with his wife, and didn't do anything.
Okay, I mean, a little bit of light lobbying is like soaking. You know, maybe not 100% by the rules, but it's not a sin.
Right. He was lobbying for a good cause. He wasn't working for Halliburton
or BlackRock.
Yeah. So
carry on, Mike.
The next one's going to be JFK, but it's not the one you think.
Okay.
In 1960, while vacationing in Palm Beach, Florida, JFK was threatened by Richard Pavlik, a 73-year-old former postal worker who hated Catholics. He was going to crash his dynamite-laden Buick into Kennedy's vehicle, but changed his heart after seeing Kennedy and his wife and his daughter part. Pavlik was arrested later by the Secret Service for a driving violation.
and so he was going too fast, and they're like, gee, sure got an awful lot of dynamite in this Buick.
That's
and
correct.
He goes,
and
the car salesman said it could fit a lot. And I used to drive a Buick, and they can fit a lot of stuff in there. I've never tried dynamite, but I definitely did fit quite a lot of stuff in the trunk.
My aunt has a Buick, and that beat up, it's actually a very good car, but that car can go down roads that I would want to pick up for sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I feel like I've heard that JFK one, though, and I didn't remember until you said that he saw him parting with his wife and kids, and I don't know if that was... Maybe that was I don't know if I've seen the movie, though, because there's a movie called Jackie, which is about JFK's wife, and I can't remember if they filmed a bit of that first attempt or not in there.
Cool.
But it sounds vaguely familiar. Not that it matters for what we're talking about or for anyone listening. It's just Nate is pondering if he's heard that before or not. So.
And then, of course, 1963, JFK, Dallas, all that stuff. We all know the jazz.
Yeah.
Now, Nixon.
Was it back and to the left or was it back and to the right? I can't remember.
Right.
From the movie, the Costner.
I don't know.
Not to laugh about an assassination that was successful.
Well, it was.
But, a lot of people use that movie, back in whichever direction it was.
It was over 60 years ago. I think we can laugh about it now.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you would think, but I think that's where you have to kind of be careful, where it's like you could definitely make jokes about things. And I've heard some, I personally don't like those dead baby jokes. I never liked them even in high school.
Right.
And I don't really hear anybody telling those now. Well, yeah, most of them aren't very funny. And I mean, just the premise alone is just not very funny, in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, I guess everyone's got their own sense of humor, so.
Right. People are juvenile.
Yada, yada.
Yeah. People are juvenile. It's like sexist jokes. Most of them are not particularly funny.
Yeah.
Right?
That is true. Carry on.
So we're rapidly increasing in pace here because Richard Nixon had 2 assassination attempts as well.
Okay.
In 1972, in Ottawa, of all places, somebody attempted to shoot Richard Nixon.
In Ottawa, Canada.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say that they tried to give him too much syrup and he was actually diabetic.
Right? So apparently the same guy who shot George Wallace attempted to shoot Richard Nixon in Ottawa.
Okay.
And failed.
So he shot George Wallace and was
successful.
left alone to...
No, he shot George Wallace later. So he failed to shoot Richard Nixon, and then he succeeded in shooting George Wallace.
Okay.
Yes. George Wallace, the pro-segregationist. George Wallace,
Okay.
that one. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. And then in 1974, a guy named Samuel Bick attempted to hijack a plane and crash it into the White House, but it was shot by police.
He was shot by police, or the police shot the plane?
No, the police shot him.
Oh,
the police
okay,
shot him.
okay.
Yeah.
Was he on the plane already? They shot him on the plane?
I believe so. They shot him on the plane.
So he just lucked out and got the plane that had an air marshal on it, or what?
Yeah. Well, the planes, if you have a certain security clearance with the government, you're basically allowed to carry a firearm onto a plane. So there's more fire marshals than there are fire marshals. Let's put it that way. Because if you have
more air marshal or more people in the air that are authorized to have a gun than air marshals.
That's correct.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So, but they say police officer, it could have been a fucking engineer, that worked at the Pentagon or something. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't some guy in Texas who was scared shitless by a nerd with a fucking,
Yeah, I thought it was
box.
like some like police academy level, like, don't hijack the plane, bro, please.
Mm-mm.
Anyway.
Yeah, it could have been a secretary. It could have been a secretary with a revolver. Like, there's a lot of people who can legally carry a gun on an airplane.
Did he announce he was like taking over the plane to crash it into the White House?
I think that's...
How else was he shot and killed?
Yes.
Because how else would you know he was intending to crash it into the White House?
He must have announced it, and then...
I mean, you'd
somebody
have to.
must have
Otherwise, it would just be like
down.
some random guy tried to hijack the plane. No big deal. Yeah, I'm going to fly this into the White House. He probably read his manifesto over like the intercom thing.
He's that type of person who does that wants to be some sort of supervillain. So it wouldn't surprise me, right?
Yeah, they've seen too many Bond movies.
Right.
And Austin Powers hadn't come out at that time, so he didn't know that monologuing is what gets you killed.
Right. Where are you at with your cigar, by the way? Cigar check.
I think I'm about... Well, actually, you know what? I've got the fucked up one here. Yeah, I'm halfway through this thing. It's become more unpleasant the longer I smoke it. It's not... I say more unpleasant. It's not an unpleasant stick, per se, but the initial part was better than the part where I'm at now. And where I'm at now, I'm kind of like, I could keep smoking it. I mean, I'm going to for the show, right? And it's not terrible. It's not bad. But it's one of those ones that if it went out, I would not be sad. But I would not relight it either. So
I think that calling this the LaCroix of cigars is perfect because it is very airy. Like, it needs less air, more flavor.
Yeah, it needs something, and that something might be tequila.
Yes.
But one of our listeners did tell me that rum is also something that can be used. So perhaps we should try rum. I didn't find out if it was spiced rum or white rum. I would imagine white rum.
See, I would have thought spiced rum.
You know what? We can try both.
Yeah.
I think I've still got a couple of these. I think you gave me 24 of your 25 pack. So
something like that.
Not an indication of what Mike thinks of these at any stretch. Just it works out that way sometimes.
I may have given you half. Anyway. So,
well, I have a question for you at the end of the episode, Mike.
Sure.
So I'll ask it at the end of the episode. But I think you know what the question will be, but don't mention it yet. We'll do it at the end of the episode. But carry on with your attempts and successes. Not yours, but the list of them. So be clear to anyone listening.
Gerald Ford, he was a pretty unpopular guy because he came in after a scandal, and people were pretty mad at him. So he had 3 attempts on his life. Okay. So I didn't know this, never heard of it, but the alphabet bomber apparently threatened to send a bomb to Gerald Ford in 1974. And it took the U.S. Secret Service like 10 days to find him after he sent the letter. So he was out sending bombs in the 70s, and then the Secret Service found him in like 10 fucking days because he threatened the president, which is insane that the Secret Service is that good, that the FBI can't find this guy.
And they could have just fucking done it.
Well, yeah, they're not involved with FBI stuff. The FBI couldn't find them.
I understand that, but at some point, like, I understand their primary mission is protect the president, blah, blah, blah. But at some point, like, isn't the government supposed to work for us? And if some bomber is blowing up American citizens and the Secret Service is like, it'd only take us about 10 days to find him, but, you know, at the FBI, they've got it. They've got this. They've got this.
Right.
It's not in our backyard yet. I don't know, man. Like, I get it. I understand that there's more than the one threat. But on the other hand, as an American citizen, it's like, dude, if you could have found this guy in 10 fucking days, you don't have just like one guy you can send over, one Secret Service person you can send over and be like, let's find this guy. Let's find this fucker.
That's what, and this is a total aside, that's what Homeland Security and FEMA is about, is that interagency sharing. So a lot of people...
Yeah, but I didn't see Homeland Security or FEMA track this alphabet bomber guy down.
No,
I'll tell you that right now.
No. But yeah, so that's what that whole idea behind that is that they're supposed to coordinate between agencies when there's a need. So like,
yeah.
And that goes on multiple levels. Like if there's a major flood in Montana and they need...
Nice way to skirt around Katrina, by the by.
Yeah. And they need government plumbers to come out and repair stuff. They can be like, hey, Iowa, we know that you got some plumbers that are not busy right now. Why don't you send them to Montana and we'll put them in a hotel and they'll do some plumbing for FEMA and we'll pay them their wage and they'll stay in a hotel. Because those plumbers are part of the FEMA system. Like everybody is, basically.
Yeah.
That works for the government.
And is a plumber.
Well,
I'm just kidding. I'm messing with
you. Plumber is a good example because that's somebody that does have a job that's needed in case of an emergency, right?
Yeah. Well, and Mario and Luigi are plumbers, so you got no argument from me, man.
Right. So 75.
Yep.
He had 2 attempps.
Okay.
Both were in
a rough
September.
year for old Jerry, huh?
Yeah, both were in September, and both were by women.
Hey, now that's interesting.
Yeah. One was Lynette Squeaky Fromm, who was a follower of Charles Manson.
Sure.
And the second one was Sarah Jane Moore, who was an accountant and an FBI informant on the Hearst family. So she was an FBI informant, which is crazy.
Yeah. So so far the FBI failed Gerald Ford at least twice, the alphabet bomber, and their informant, their own fucking informant.
Right. And a member of the Manson family. So you could argue that's 3 times.
Manson family. Yes. 2 very direct instances and a third that could fall under the same umbrella.
Right. So the FBI is taking some L's in the mid-70s.
Yeah. So, and some LSD.
Yes.
Sorry, carry on.
So the next major one was in 81. Ronald Reagan was shot and survived. Everybody knows that one.
Yeah. Was he apparently one of them? Was he shot in the leg? Was somebody shot in the leg or the hip, or he was shot in the chest?
Yeah, I think he was shot in the chest, but it was like not in a vital area. Yeah. So, so that guy was actually going to kill Jimmy Carter, but lost his nerve. And then he went to go kill Ronald Reagan later. Sure. So he was an equal opportunity psychopath.
Yeah, I guess. He just wanted to kill a president. He didn't care which one.
Right. So the next one's going to be George H.W. Bush. Okay. In 1993, some Iraqi nationalist tried to bomb an event that George H.W. Bush visited in Kuwait. Okay. They found him. They found the bombs. Everything was taken care of. Yep. Now, Bill Clinton... Also, I don't understand, because he was pretty popular at the time. He had 3 assassination attempts. Whoa. Which is crazy. Yeah.
The only thing you ever hear about with Bill Clinton is Monica Lewinsky.
Right. And Whitewater.
Generally.
Yeah. So, apparently, there was a guy named Ronald Gene Barber, a retired military guy and writer. Okay. And he went to shoot him while he was jogging. And failed to do so and escaped, and he was arrested later.
He failed to shoot him or failed to attempt to shoot him?
He failed to attempt to shoot him.
So how was he arrested later?
Apparently, he was noticed by the Secret Service and evaded them, and they tracked him down.
Oh, got it.
And arrested him later.
So looking suspicious around a president.
They can track down a random guy from Florida who was looking suspicious while the president was jogging.
Yeah.
Ain't crazy what the Secret Service can really do when they want to.
Yes.
Hint, hint.
Crazy what they can do when they're denying. I mean, sorry. Carry on, Mike.
Yeah. So in
I don't know
1994,
what's going on.
Francisco Martin Duran shot 29 times at the White House from the road. And he did hit some men in suits, but it wasn't the president.
Okay.
He thought I was the president. But so he did shoot people, just not the president. And he was trying to shoot the president.
From the road.
From the road.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Was it like a pistol, rifle? Like what's he doing?
Oh, it was a 7.62 by 39, so an AK style firearm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I've been to the White House, not inside. But you can't, you're not really that close.
Right.
I guess depending on where or on the property you are, but 29 times. But if it's an automatic weapon, you can get that off in a minute or whatever, so.
Right. And those old AKs had firing mechanisms that were pretty easy to modify, to my understanding.
Yeah. But it sounds ridiculous. You know what I mean?
A lot of these are ridiculous.
Yes, but it sounds stupid. There's the house that the president could potentially be inside at this time, but by and large, he's probably somewhere else.
Right.
But even if you were tracking and knew he was there, I'm just going to randomly fire at the house?
Right.
I mean, I guess. I'm sure it wasn't random, and he was watching, and like you said, he hit some people in suits, so it wasn't completely random. But it's one of those Jingle All the Way almost.
Yeah.
Right, where it was a Sinbad, and he works at the post office, and he's like, I got a bomb on one of these packages, and everybody laughed back in the '90s, and then it's there were actually quite a few post office bombings, and it's kind of. That joke is kind of soured, but that was funny, and that's funny, and so some guy got a AK and fucking just shot at the White House 29 times, and you could you can see Chevy Chase as the president, whoa, hey, Dodgen or Leslie Nielsen or I don't know, one of those people, right? It's a comedy movie, it's like a plot of a 90s comedy or 80s comedy or something.
Yeah. So one more attempt, and you're gonna know this guy. 1996, Manila. He was, attending one of these horrible conferences, and the Secret Service got a note that a Saudi Arabian gentleman put a bomb on a bridge that the president was supposed to cross. So they went over there and looked, and by golly, there was a bomb on that bridge waiting to blow up, and that gentleman was Osama bin Laden.
Did I have math class with him?
Yeah.
Name's not ringing a bell.
I've heard of that guy. I've heard of that guy. So, apparently he must have been on the government's radar, at least as of 1996, if not from the 80s when he was in the Mujahideen.
Didn't we send him money?
Something like that.
He's on the payroll. He's on the payroll. You're telling me
Somalia anyway.
The Secret Service can track down some rando fuckhead from Florida, and it goes all the way to Obama getting Osama. That's how long it took?
That's weird, right?
You couldn't send the fucking Secret Service after 9/11. 10 days, they couldn't find Osama? September 21st, they couldn't have had Osama bin Laden?
It's incredible that a guy
They've
on
already
dialysis
fucking done it, dude.
Managed to hide for 20 years in the middle of nowhere.
Man, that's the crazy thing is they took out all the payphones and they put in dialysis machines. Nobody knows where he could have been. There's dialysis machines everywhere. Especially in the caves in Iraq or Iran or wherever the fuck, Afghanistan. I don't know where.
Weird.
That's what they said. Come to the Middle East, they said. See all the dialysis machines. That's what they tell you in the brochure. I never believed them, but now I might.
It's awesome. So I didn't hear about this one. This is George Jr.
Okay. Is it
2005.
Is it the shoe? Tell me it's the shoe. Is the shoe on your list? Is the shoe on your list?
The shoe is not on my list. I hate to tell you.
Dude, I think that's a valid attempt. Was it a steel toe? Some of those dress shoes have metal in underneath the arch,
Oh my!
You got to take them off at security airport and everything. I think that's a valid attempt. I think it should be on the list. I'm going to petition whoever runs this show. I'm petitioning.
Oh my God! It was not. This has actually happened in Georgia. I think around the time that they were invaded by Russia. A gentleman threw a hand grenade.
So not Atlanta, Georgia.
No. Georgia, the country. Yeah, not Atlanta. But he threw a hand grenade that was wrapped in a handkerchief to hide it.
I thought you were going to say shoe.
And the handkerchief was tied too tight, and the pin The lever never got released. So there we go. That was pure luck, I guess.
Yeah.
Now, let's see here. There's 3 against Obama.
Whoa. Okay.
Well, we're rapidly advancing here because now we're at 21, right?
I mean, I never even heard of the ones against W, except for the shoe.
Right. We're at like number 5. That brings us up to the 20th century.
Yeah.
And
Mike,
from number 6, yeah.
Sorry, I know you're on a roll and you're very excited.
6 to 19
here
is just the 20th century.
Okay.
So we're ramping up here. We're
Yeah.
rapidly increasing in frequency.
So particularly with like Clinton and George W., were those attempts publicized in American media, or is the media starting to kind of like not mention that kind of stuff?
We're going to get into that later. I think that the media is not pushing the story.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
I wish they would do that with school shootings.
In a way that would be wise, because if you didn't have the coverage, it wouldn't sensationalize it, and then these kids that have psychiatric problems wouldn't be inspired.
Yeah, the quote-unquote fame seekers.
Right.
Yes. Okay, go on, Mike.
Anyway, in 2009, apparently there was a plot by some terrorist group in Turkey, and there was a man with forged press credentials that was detained with a firearm, and he was going to assassinate Obama.
Okay.
So he never made it into the same room, but almost. In 11, there was Oscar Ramiro Ortega Hernandez. Was a conspiracy theorist and a hardcore religious person, and he traveled from Idaho, and he drove into... Oh, no, he didn't drive. He shot the White House again.
Okay.
With a gun.
Yes.
And he broke a window in the White House. So this is twice that somebody shot the White House from the road with a gun.
Yeah.
Which seems like it should be in a Fletch movie. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. It should be like the dumbest thing anyone could think to do.
Right. And then I remember this. In 13, when the Ricine letters were being sent nationally, one was sent to Obama. So.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I remember that.
Did the Secret Service find that person?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I believe so.
Just to clarify.
Yeah. Now, in
when they want to work, they work, right?
Mm-hmm. In 17, I remember when Trump came to Bismarck to the refinery. I knew some dudes that were working there, and they were so mad that they shut the refinery down. The job was almost done. And everybody wanted to go home because these big refineries, they're not local workers working there. These are guys who travel there for this work. There's thousands of people employed. And they shut this fucking plant down for a week without pay so Trump could come and visit a fucking refinery that was almost being completed. It was like a refurb, you know? And guys were so pissed.
It was for the pictures, right?
It was for the pictures. Yeah. So these guys lost a week of work. They had to pay a week of rent. They were away from their families. I knew a lot of these guys. I was going to go work that job myself. And it didn't work out. Doesn't really matter. But I remember when he came and visited, people were so mad.
Yeah.
What I didn't know is that somebody attempted to assassinate Trump while he was at that refinery. They covered that up. That was not talked about.
Okay.
So a guy, a local Bismarck guy.
Yeah.
What was his name here? Lee Lingang broke into the refinery, stole a forklift, and attempted to drive it into the limo that Trump was in. But he got it stuck in the refinery on like a mezzanine. So he was too dumb to be able to figure out that his forklift was too tall to drive underneath a mezzanine. He escaped, and then he started a fire at the municipal baseball park, and then another fire at the state parole office. And that's when they arrested him.
Were either of those two places he lit the fires anywhere near where Trump was, or was he just kind of like angry at that point?
He had
and letting
like
off
a psychotic
steam?
break. Yeah, he had like a psychotic break. Yeah.
Mike, I have a follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
So this man from Bismarck miscalculated his forklift height under a mezzanine.
Yes.
Where was that guy who built his own armored tank thing to take out the thing and then forgot about basements and stairs?
Right.
Where was that guy from?
I believe that he was in Colorado, wasn't he? I watched the documentary about that.
I watched the documentary too. It was very fascinating.
Yeah.
Also, I don't condone that sort of thing, but also I might pour a little bit out for him.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I feel as people, as a society, we like to complain when the villain is written as somebody who is stupid or makes mistakes. And yet here we have a whole slew, right? Because there's more unsuccessful assassination attempts than successful ones. A whole slew of people who have been caught by their own stupidity or their own hubris or whatever. So maybe I shouldn't be mad that the villain is not the smartest, you know?
I didn't mention this, but the FBI informant woman that attempted to shoot Gerald Ford, the only reason why she didn't succeed was that the FBI seized her firearm and she went and bought one at a secondhand shop. And the first shot she took was at the president. So she never sighted it in. So she was trained on how to shoot a firearm. Yeah. She just never shot the one that she used. So she would have practiced a little bit. It would have been over. But that's how stupid we are here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, 2018, I did hear about this.
Okay.
There were a number of pipe bombs sent to political figures. And both Barack Obama and Bill and Hillary Clinton had pipe bombs sent to them in 2018. I did hear about that. That was publicized because there was a number of people.
Yeah, but they didn't go off or...
No. They were all... One of them did go off, but none of them made it. They were addressed to them. They were caught by the post office.
This letter looks suspiciously pipish. I'm going to take a peek.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you mail this stuff, right?
Wow. You can't even mail marijuana. How are you going to get away with fucking mailing a bomb, loser?
Yeah.
Like, come on
I mean, I'm not saying that you can mail marijuana because I know somebody very, very, very close to me who did, but, you know.
I'm sure there's methods that we are not going to discuss.
No, that's illegal. Don't do that.
Yeah, they're not looking for marijuana, I'm going to guess.
Yeah, I mean, marijuana is, especially now since it's been kind of de facto decriminalized, even though it's not de jure decriminalized, it's such a waste of time. Like, it's such a colossal waste of time and resources to look for marijuana.
Like a police officer, right? Let's say you're a police officer in the state of Minnesota.
Yeah.
Unless you have a CDL, commercial driver's license.
Yes.
They're not obligated to test you for any drugs.
No. Well, and what I've heard, Mike, is depending on where in Minnesota you are. If you're in Minneapolis, I heard if the police catch you smoking marijuana, what they do is confiscate it and send you on your way. They don't even bother writing you a ticket.
They shouldn't.
So,
they shouldn't.
Well, no, nobody should. But, you know, if you're somewhere else other than the liberal big city of, you know, Minneapolis, St. Paul of Minnesota, you're probably going to get more grief. But in Minneapolis, St. Paul, you're probably not going to get much grief about it.
Here in rural Minnesota, outside of like bars and bowling alleys, people smoke marijuana right outside. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares.
Well, they shouldn't really.
No,
but
who cares?
Anyway, yeah. I'm with you.
Now, I did hear about this. This is 2023.
Okay.
And this we're going to have to talk about a little bit. A guy named Cy Varshith Kundula drove a rented U-Haul truck into a barrier at the White House.
Okay.
And this gentleman with that name was allegedly found with Nazi paraphernalia in his vehicle, and he allegedly expressed his desire to be, or his admiration for the Third Reich, and stated that his intentions were to kill the president to start a Fourth Reich. Now,
because Biden is a Jew?
Right. And a guy named Cy Varshith Kundula is going to be a white supremacist.
Hey, man, that's the most German-sounding name I've ever heard in my life. Sounds
very Aryan, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, a lot of people at the time, and I remember this only because of the talk about it, it's like, this is not a believable story. Like, maybe he's a crazy guy, but then there was like this, it's just a white supremacist thing.
Just tell us the true story.
Yeah, man. It might be the true story, but part of the true story is not that there's a white supremacy
plot to kill
the president.
To kill a non-Jewish president?
Yeah, like this. That is not what's happening here. Like, there might be a crazy guy, but...
Well, yeah. And if you believe the president is Jewish, but he's not, say that. Like, some crazy person who believes themselves to be a white supremacist also believes the president is a Jew, wants to start a Fourth Reich by assassinating a Jewish president. To be clear, this person is not a white supremacist, and the president is not Jewish.
This guy gives me strong... I'm not sure if you heard the story, but there was an assassination attempt against Queen Elizabeth by somebody who said they were a Sith Lord.
Sure. Sure.
He dressed up in ninja costume, and he apparently jumped over some wall into a garden where the queen was at this, mega castle, and he was caught.
Yeah.
Immediately.
He was, you know why he was caught, Mike, is because he had a Bluetooth speaker on him and he started playing Duel of the Fates.
Right. Right. And he immediately confessed and said that it was a mistake. But he said he was a Sith Lord. Like, there is not a Sith conspiracy to overthrow.
Why didn't he use the mind
government.
trick? He could use the mind trick. I'm supposed to be here.
Right.
This isn't the Bluetooth speaker you're looking for. It's dance time.
So that was number 26. Now we're on to 27 and the last one, which is another against Donald Trump. And we all know it's in the news. We don't really need to talk about it.
Yeah, this one was publicized, but I think we have to talk about it a little bit, because aren't there quite a few, let's just say, theories floating around of what was going on? I saw something that BlackRock tried to short Donald Trump stock.
They did try to
Truth
short
Social.
Donald Trump stock at Truth Social. The Secret Service didn't have anybody posted on a roof that was well within
Mike,
rifle distance.
I'm sorry, you're breaking up, Mike. What did you say?
I hope to God that was a joke. That's a great joke.
Because I did a real deep dive. Actually, I have an architecture minor, Mike, so I can tell you straight up that if the slope of the roof is too great, just nobody can go up on it. It's impossible. It's impossible to re-roof without a crane. It's impossible for anybody to get up there without a crane. So
it's kind of like the Secret Service are like building inspectors, right? Like, no, I'm not going up there. I need a ladder. Fuck that.
Yeah,
like, that's
I need a ladder.
Really not the Secret Service attitude, right?
Well, it depends. It depends. They can find somebody in 10 days, but they can't stand on a moderately sloped roof. I'm afraid of heights, and the roof on my house is sloped more than the roof that guy was on.
I've seen your roof. I would definitely stand on your roof. That's not a problem.
Yeah, and I'm afraid of heights, and I don't like standing on my roof, but I've done it to do house stuff.
Right.
And the roof pitch that I saw is less than the one on my house. So how is anybody saying we can't check this roof? We can't put people on this roof? It doesn't make any sense, Mike.
I mean, I saw the configuration of the weapon used.
Okay.
And it was literally the shittiest AR-15 you could buy off the rack. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not even as good as a standard deer hunting rifle.
Like a 30-06.
Yeah, whatever. A shitty deer hunting rifle off the rack of Walmart with a scope from the store would be like a better firearm.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I
don't know what else to say other than that. Like, there's a lot of stuff to say, but
I don't know anything about AR-15s. I don't think I've even shot an AR-15, to be honest with you. In terms of hunting, which when I was very active in hunting, I purposefully got a bolt action 30-06 with the longest barrel I could and put a scope on it because why? It's the most accurate over long distances. The fewer moving parts, the more accurate it is. If somebody says I'm going to hunt with an AR-15, chances are I'm going to laugh at you.
You can use an AR-15 for like coyote hunting. It's pretty common. Like there's small game hunting, things like that because the 223. But these are heavily modified
for deer.
This is a heavily modified, very expensive firearm that is purpose-built for hunting, and it's on an AR-15 platform because you can carry a lot of rounds. So for something like shooting coyotes all day off of a snowmobile, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah.
Under that application.
Yes.
And they're heavy, and you're not carrying it. And it's not a rifle you would shoot an elk with or something.
Deer with. Yeah.
Well, you can. I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. That's the point, is like...
Yeah.
Enough said about that. Okay, so carry on, Mike.
All right, that's the end. That's the last one.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we could get into depth about the latest thing because, like I say, it's suspicious. There's some suspicious things, gentlemen.
There's definitely some
look it up for
suspicious
yourself.
things.
Yeah, look it up for yourself.
Yeah, I want to bring a little less like. How about we go? Should we dip out of the conspiracy bit for a minute here, Mike?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, because I want to talk to you about this before, and I didn't bring it up because I kind of wanted to do it on the show here. Did you hear about the Tenacious D incident?
I heard a little bit. I purposefully have not looked into it because it breaks my heart. The things I've been hearing breaks my heart. I don't want to. Okay. I don't want to.
Yeah. So I watched the actual video clip of what happened. And so Tenacious D were performing in Australia, I believe. And it was Kyle Gass's birthday, and they brought out a birthday cake and sang happy birthday to him, and they made him make a wish, and he blew out the candles and said, don't miss Trump next time.
Okay. That's kind of funny. That's funny.
Okay.
It's a comedic band. Okay.
Well, okay. I want to get into this a little bit. It's a comedic band. They talk about gargling semen and fucking the devil, or being fucked by the devil, and cock push-ups and things like that.
Yes.
Pick of Destiny is one of the greatest comedy movies of all time. It's right up there with Tropic Thunder and Team America. And so they're a comedy musical group. That's what they're billed as. I think two things. Because immediately after that happened, Jack Black canceled the rest of the shows on the tour. Kyle Gass's agent dropped him, and then they both issued apologies on their social media platforms or accounts. So two things. I think one is kind of actively wishing or stating that you wish a president or political figure to be killed. That's an area of free speech that is not covered. That's not a protected First Amendment thing. I understand they were in Australia. So saying you want someone to kill a president is not protected by the First Amendment. So I get why Jack Black did what he did to an extent, but presumably they're friends, right? And they issued apologies anyway. So I think possibly he overreacted by canceling everything and making a bigger deal out of it than it was. Right. I mean, it's a comedy band.
Yeah, I would agree that that's an overreaction.
I'm not saying Kyle Gass should have done that. You know what I mean?
I am not saying that he should have done that, but I am saying that in the context of being a shock-based comedy band,
yeah,
they could have played that off. Right.
They could have played that off. They could have just done the and it seems so common these days is somebody says something and then it doesn't land well and they issue an apology and say it was in bad taste and everybody moves on. It's not really that big of a deal. And I think Jack Black's response to it, and a lot of people said because he's so tight now with Disney that, and they dropped, what's her name? Gina.
Yes. For
some of her comments. None of them were assassination related to anybody, I don't think. They were, Holocaust?
Yeah, I
she made some
know.
Kind of like
it's
not tasteful Holocaust thing. It's all pop, like, these people.
It's not like Gina Carano is an expert about anything.
No.
So maybe MMA fighting or something. You know what I mean?
MMA
like, I'm not saying that
fighting,
she's not an expert in anything, literally.
No. But like these popular figures are just that. They're popular figures. They're supposed to talk and entertain people. And Kyle Gass must have thought he was entertaining people by making that joke. And it was too soon, in bad taste. And you said, we can joke about the JFK thing because it's 60 years old. But, I think part of comedy is knowing what can be and what can't be joked about and then how you set it up. And if it just kind of comes out of the blue, there's not really any setup. So
Gilbert Gottfried got in trouble a lot for his jokes about things like that. And he lost a lot of money because of that. And I like Gilbert Gottfried. I thought he was hilarious.
Yeah.
So there is something to be said about pushing the boundaries of comedy. You're going to cross that line.
Yeah.
So I will forgive. You know what I mean? Like, I will easily forgive.
Yeah.
Like, that is not a problem.
Look, all they have to say is, hey, we're sorry that this joke wasn't received in the nature it was intended, or I never intended it to be a serious thing. We're a shock comedy band. We talk about gargling semen and cock push-ups. That's all I need to know, man. Like, there doesn't have to be a whole, fallout from this.
Right. Gore, one of my favorite bands to watch, they routinely have a skit where they kill the president on stage with a semen penis gun, or you know what I mean, or they chop him up or whatever, right? Like, it's part of the show. Like, they're like ripping limbs off and shit.
When George W. was president, weren't there a lot of marionettes of him being dismembered?
Oh yeah,
or stuff. So I don't know. I mean, some of this stuff.
How many times a day in rural Minnesota do you think I drive past a house that's a normal, nice-looking house, and then there's like a fuck Joe Biden flag flying right next to the road next to this house?
Yeah.
Like, a nice house. Like, this is not somebody who is like a loser in normal life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they clearly have figured out their life somehow, and then they have a fuck Joe Biden flag in front of it. Like, what are we doing here? Like, people lose their goddamn minds about certain things.
They do. And I think that's part of the thing is, even with Kyle Gass's comments, do you think the Secret Service is investigating him? Do you think they're concerned about Kyle Gass?
I bet you they give him a call. They might. They will. They'll be like, hey, don't do that again.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. He's an overweight white guy. And he's
who's a musician.
Middle-age beyond. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you think Steven Tyler from Aerosmith is a threat to somebody? Maybe whoever he's sleeping with, but other than that, no. I mean, I don't know. Some of this stuff is, like I said, I don't condone what Kyle Gass said. I think if you're trying to be a positive influence in the world, wishing death upon somebody, regardless of who, is not the right move. But I don't feel like the situation was handled very well all around.
I agree. The band should have handled that completely differently.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But I'm not them. I don't have Jack Black money or problems. So
yeah.
I'm guessing that he must be on the cusp of a sweet movie deal with Disney.
Kung Fu Panda 4 and then 5 is probably right down the corner, right?
Right.
And he was there with Baby Yoda and got upstaged by, the serial abuser, Lizzo. That's the one.
Yes.
So anyway, whatever it is. And I haven't listened to most of the new Tenacious D stuff. Like, I love their older stuff. I don't know, a lot of bands I liked. I just haven't listened to some of their new stuff. But I guess Tenacious D's music has been getting a little more political and a little more like anarchist type stuff, which is fine. Like, that's good. But anarchy doesn't necessarily equate to killing everybody either.
Right. The last album I bought of theirs was, I don't know, probably a decade ago. And it was good.
Yeah. Was it Rise of the Phoenix?
Yes, it was Rise of the Phoenix. Yep.
So, yeah, it makes me sad because I generally like those two whenever I see them, like in anything. Because Kyle Gass has appeared in cameos or different roles some places too. And I'm like, oh, yeah, fuck yeah, Kyle Gass.
Oh, if Tenacious D were to roll through Minnesota, I'd be going for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be like seeing Ween or any of the bands that I enjoy. I want to go see those guys. Let's make it happen, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's too bad. Now I know the details, and it makes me sad.
Yeah, it's sad. I think it's an overreaction as opposed to an underreaction. An underreaction would also be kind of lambasted.
Right.
But given the scope and the nature of the band and those two together, when they are Tenacious D, not when it's Jack Black in School of Rock, not when it's Jack Black voicing a character in an animated kids movie, when it's Tenacious D and they're talking about, 'twas I who fucked the dragon, blah, 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 Kickapoo from Pick a Destiny. But I'm not really taking anything they say super seriously. Like, obviously, I know both of them can do cock push-ups. Like, not even a question in my mind.
You only need to do one, all right? You only need to do one.
You only have to do one. One day. I'm practicing. One day, I swear to God, I'll get it done.
Yeah. It's just goof. That doesn't seem like a... Yeah.
It just seems like an overreaction. It's like, I went to go see George Carlin, and guess what? He said something that offended me.
Right. It's like going to see Bill Burr, and he said something bad about women, and you're shocked. Like,
yeah, wow. That's the fucking point.
Yeah. Was it true? Probably a little too true.
Yeah, maybe. I went to go see a comedian of color, and they said something about white people that I found offensive, but also hilarious because it was true.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I didn't know that Eddie Murphy was so vile and sweary in his stand-up comedy.
Yeah. In the animated movie, he totally fucked a dragon, but yeah, I don't know why he's vile in real life.
Yeah. I didn't know that Eddie Murphy was in adult movies also.
Yeah. Jesus. I mean, some of it is true. Like, it's the softening of society, the softening of culture, the softening of language, whatever. On the other hand, I don't think people should be actively calling for a second or third, in this case, assassination attempt against Trump.
No. And I can tell you,
regardless of what you think of him.
The Bismarck thing, like, that shocked me. I was living there at the time.
Yeah.
Right there. And nobody even told me. Like, they didn't tell any of the guys that worked there. It didn't make the papers.
Yeah.
Like, how does that not... at least local papers, right? You would think that at least the local paper would say something.
Yeah. So you said you had, so I've got a little bit of the cigar left, but you said you had a couple things about media.
Oh, well, yeah. The discussion is, of all these recent ones, most of them we never heard of. And some of them are really legit. Like, somebody
Crazy
shot
legit.
the fucking White House. How was that not on the news? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we heard about, do you remember that father-son duo that was riding around and they had like cut a hole in their trunk and they were shooting from their trunk of their car or something?
Yes.
Like, I remember hearing about that, but we didn't hear about anybody shooting the White House.
No, I distinctly remember that because my dad was working in D.C. during one of those sprees, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
you know, you survived because he was in Washington D.C. when the plane hit the Pentagon too, and he had an office at the Pentagon, which there's like 5,000 people that have an office at the Pentagon, right? It's not, it's not that big of a deal or anything.
The plane that left no debris after hitting the Pentagon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It didn't hit the portion that he was in, and it happened to hit the part where they did all the accounting. Real weird.
Yeah, and there was no plane engines, but
didn't hit the part with the engineers. It didn't hit the part with the military planners. It hit the part with all the accountants.
Yeah, well, I mean, floor plans are difficult, dude. I don't know what to say. Like, just like roof lines, you know, like they're tough things, tough to figure out.
Right. It didn't kill the snack counter person, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I didn't hear about George Bush and the hand grenade.
We heard about the shoe thing though.
Yeah, the fucking shoe by a Muslim guy, but not the actual hand grenade by a Russian guy.
Yeah.
Like, what? That doesn't seem to make sense. I am convinced that the media covers a lot of this up. Unless it is convenient for their narrative, they don't want to talk about it.
Well, and so here's another spin on that, Mike. If the Secret Service can find some rando person 10 days or less, let's say, maybe there are certain stories that they suppress and they don't want out there.
That is a certainty. An
alleged certainty. We don't know. We just have a cigar podcast.
Right. Well, yeah. That's a certainty in my mind.
I don't need any Secret Service phone calls.
No.
I don't know.
It seems highly likely that there's suppression of information, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, you know, there is regarding the president and top political officials in our country because they need to keep certain things under wraps, travel plans, flights, planes, trains, automobiles, buses.
Absolutely. And that's for basic safety. And I agree with that.
Safety.
Obviously, you have to. There's a lot of crazy people out there. Clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly. Yeah, it's wacko.
Yes. So I'm starting to not like this cigar, Mike.
I've been not liking it for at least a half an inch. It's getting very bitter and very chemical tasting.
Yep. And it got very sour, acetone, burnt chemically. Yep. The last third has been atrocious.
It's like a LaCroix had a baby with a White Claw, is what this tastes like. You know? Yeah. It's terrible. Yeah. And I'm sorry if you like LaCroix or White Claws.
If you could somehow, hear me out here. If you could somehow make Jägermeister also taste burnt.
And not sweet at all.
Yes, not sweet at all. So my last question of the show, Mike, before we wrap, is the Odyssey Maduro better or worse than our standard Maduro for gauging things? Is this better or worse than a Dark Shark?
Oh, this is worse than a Dark Shark.
This is definitely worse than a Dark Shark.
Way worse.
Way worse. The Dark Shark has almost perceivably no taste whatsoever, which at this point in the cigar, I would take gladly. If you said you don't have to finish this cigar, you can just smoke a Dark Shark, I would say, sign me up. Hand it here. Is it lit? Do I need to light it? Let's get this done. Yes.
I agree. What did we give the Dark Shark? I'm looking for it, and of course now I can't find it.
Yeah, I was going to pull up our thing, and I didn't because why would I pre-plan? It's not like we knew we were going to record an episode.
All right.
Well, I got to pull it up anyway to rate this one, don't I?
We both ranked it as a 3.
Yeah. Absolute middle of the road.
Absolute middle of the road. I figured that's what we did.
This one will not be a 3. I'll tell you that much.
I'm going to put this, and I knew this already.
Yeah.
Not looking at your score. Oh, you stole my thunder.
I know. I know. It's not as bad as an Underground Shade or a Cold-Blooded Red Moon.
No.
But the last third, if it wasn't for the last third, if the last third tasted anything like the first 2/3 of the stick, this would be a 2, maybe
Yes.
a 2.5, 2.5. But Mike and I both gave it a 1.5. So
Yeah,
it's not.
it begins underwhelming, and you think, oh, well, maybe this will develop. And then the middle section,
and yeah.
all that dream that you had it was going to turn into a good one just kind of floats away. And it tastes like
the dream
nothing.
floats away, but it just tastes like nothing. And you're like, I could keep smoking it. And I remember I told you, I'm like, if I'll keep smoking it. I'm not hating it, but if it goes out, or if I was mowing the lawn and I only smoked half of it, or I was out smoking and a freak thunderstorm showed up and I had to put it out, like, I'm not shedding any tears about
I'm not
it,
bringing it inside and smoking it.
No, hell no. Even without tasting the last third, I wouldn't have brought it in. It's one of those ones where the first 2/3 are fine. But this is one, if you smoke this one, and if you're just like, I need something to fill my humidor, I mean, just get the Dark Shark, honest to God. But if you get this one, just don't smoke the last third. It's a 2/3 thing, I guess.
Yeah, I don't recommend.
No, I don't recommend, and I want to bring this up again, especially because the first stick, I didn't even light, because when I cut it, it split down the side. And that picture is on the Instagram, so you can go look at that if you want to see the split. But it's not good. It's not good. It's not absolutely terrible, but
So for the listeners to know the shop talk a little, we discussed this beforehand, and I said you might want to get some tequila before we start because it's not good.
Yeah. So I kind of knew coming in, but I wanted to have. I thought, well, it can't be that bad because he hasn't complained about them as much as the Cult Blood Red Moon. So it can't be that bad, right? And then I also said, well, if we're going to do it tequila style, we should do it straight first before we put tequila on it.
And I agreed. That's only fair. It's only fair.
It's only fair to have a baseline before we try and make it better. And with that, I put mine out. Please don't try to kill people, no matter how much you disagree with them, unless they are literally Hitler and there's proof that they're killing people. I mean, leave it to the professionals, the army, the military, the Secret Service. There's not very many instances where somebody who's not physically actively seeking to end your life that you need to worry about, really. I mean, most things in American politics are on a pendulum anyway, so it's going to swing the way you don't like for 4 years or 8 years, and then it's going to swing back the other way for the next 4 or 8 years. You don't need to be going to kill people.
No, I don't recommend that either.
That shouldn't be the goal in life, is the point. That you should find your own happiness and make your own happiness.
Yes.
And not harm others. So, anyway, thanks for listening.
Be safe, have fun.